Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett here with Blake Sievers, my co-host of Soccer Talk. Siebes, how are you today?
Good morning, Ben. Summer is quickly approaching, I think, finally.
I mean, you're wearing shorts today, man. Living a good life.
Yep, it's nice. Patios are opening up.
Yeah.
Friends at Central City are busy as always.
That's right. And soccer season is in full swing. We've been doing lots of games of the week.
Doubled this week.
I know, and this is basically like we're doing what the players are doing. We're getting 3 games in 7 days here.
No time for preparation.
No, I know, and yeah, we can't even go back over the game film. I'm getting tired. Probably gonna be making mistakes next Tuesday in our next our Ankeny matchup. But today we're talking about the game we took in, which is normally one of the hottest tickets in town on a Friday night, but we took it in on a Tuesday afternoon. The Roosevelt Rough Riders hosted the Lincoln Rail Splitters at Cownie.
Yeah, and we had a pretty cool special, I don't know if it's a special guest, but he might have to be called that because he doesn't come in as often as we would like.
That's right.
Maybe our people like as well, the listeners.
We have Gary Neville, aka Joe Sithonnorath, Southside Schemer, here to talk about his alma mater, Lincoln Rails. Hopefully Joe will be positive today. But, he's always just so negative about his squad.
He's a big Man United guy too. That's a good Gary Neville shout.
I think he wishes he played right back. All right.
Which is funny because if you guys, another YouTube page plug, Joe's sitting right next to us listening to this. So it's good. Always good to do an intro
with an audience.
Yeah, we love it.
All right, let's get to it. All right. Welcome, guys. We've got Southside Schemer here, in place of the Titan tactician, Joe Sithonnorath. Welcome.
Hey,
how are you today, man?
good. How are you guys doing?
We are good. At least I am. Blake, how are you?
Yeah, good. Good to be back on the pod. Good to have JoJo back in the studio. Has it been 2 years since you've been our analyst for one of these games?
No, I think I was here a few months ago, right? I forgot which game it was.
There wasn't.
Oh, it was the State Cup games.
That's right.
Very good. All right. Well, it's good to see your face. I'm glad you're repping your Pick It Forward jacket. As Blake had said, this would be the good time for us to shamelessly plug our YouTube channel. We think we have our audio and video sort of figured out today, but we'll see. Anyway, so big game, Lincoln Roosevelt. We sort of do it a lot like the match of the day or those Premier League shows where they bring in a former player from the team to sort of do the analysis. So Joe is acting as whoever name who's he acting as today?
Maybe like
the Jamie Carragers or the Micah Richards.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly. So okay, tell us what you thought. Not a great night for your Rails.
Yeah, it was not good. I was pretty disappointed in the fact that they played at 4:45 p.m. I think a game like that should be played under the lights 7:30 on a Friday night. So I think that was a little bit disappointing.
Let's get into that a little bit because I think
we just have to know just enough to know that there's probably a reason why. Well, there's a reason why.
Okay.
Because it's the most affordable time for them to make it happen. They don't have to turn the lights on, and it's a weeknight.
Well, that's disappointing then from whoever is making that decision, whether it's the city, whether it's the Parks and Rec, whether it's the schools.
Well, that's what happens when you don't have your own facility too, right? A lot of none of these other high schools have that issue. They just say, well, hey, it's stadium night.
Yeah, and we've been to this game, obviously not last year, but 2019, 2018, maybe even 2017. And it was always on the Friday night at 7:30 on the stadium field. And it brought, and that's why we picked it. There's some big games this week, but we picked it because the atmosphere, the environment, it's a great place to play.
Correct. Well, so that definitely takes a little of the spice out of it. But still.
And like there was, 4:45 on a weekday.
Yeah, it makes it
tough to get
there.
Yeah.
Train went by.
Yeah, the train did go by.
Three other games were going on at the same time, like a JV, JVB girls varsity game.
Well, I guess that was maybe the other thing we noticed. Blake and I saw there must have been the JV2 game going on, or the JV2 game. There was no referee. It didn't look like.
There wasn't.
Yeah,
You're right. Yeah.
The game at first glance, you're just like, oh, it's fine, no big deal, good looking game, but then a little closer analysis and
So I guess I would just ask the DMPS and Des Moines Park and Rec sort that out, get that game back on the Friday night, because definitely was not as enjoyable for the
Right.
media. And surely for the kids too, right? The
Right,
kids
yeah,
don't want to play up
yeah.
if they can play at 7:30 at night with a big rivalry game on a Friday,
Correct.
get all their peers there.
And I think that actually transferred onto the field for Lincoln, right? They looked very lethargic in the first half, and you could blame it on the wind or whatever. But at the end of the day, a game like that against your biggest metro rival, you need to show up and play, and they weren't prepared.
well, I think the win becomes, I mean, it obviously is a factor, but for a team like Lincoln who likes to put the ball down and play, I mean, you'd hope it wouldn't be a major issue, or at least then, when they got the win, you just expect them to take major advantage of it.
Right. Yeah. That first half, they looked tired. They looked delayed in their movement. The pitch was obviously nice. The grass was thick, and I don't think they were thinking about that, because when you saw the pace of their passes, it was very slow. And Roosevelt, they were, conversely, they were very energetic, and they pounced on those hospital ball passes, and it was not a good start for the Lincoln Rails.
Pretty one-sided in that first half.
Yeah.
And one thing, I mean, here, I'll go back on this. Matt Ream, get a program. It is very difficult trying to figure out who is who, what year guys are, and names. So,
well, and again, that probably, it might not be Matt's job, and I'll defend him a little bit, but whoever is in charge of things like that, when we go to most of these games, there's a full program with rosters, and it makes the game way better because you're able to follow the players and know who's who.
Might be part of the cost savings gig,
I hope not.
Maybe we get like a QR code that you can scan when you walk in.
There you go. And if it links it right to the varsity bound thing, there you go. But that just made it a little bit difficult trying to figure out who is who and whatnot. So Joey, what else in the first half, Joey?
Yeah, I just thought that the Lincoln goalkeeper did extremely well. I thought he was probably the best player that day for Lincoln.
Seegers, I'm sure, has that pulled up.
I don't know. He was number 51. He was wearing a jersey that wasn't
The goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Jason Kunkel, I think was his name.
Was okay.
Mhm.
So he's a junior. Okay.
Yeah. He came up with some great saves. Roosevelt created numerous opportunities. Rashidi, I think their forward, was really good in creating scoring chances. The finishing part itself lacked a bit. I think it could have been 4-5-0 at half, but again, the keeper made a ton of big saves, and Roosevelt also wasn't composed inside the box.
Yeah, that 24 was it 24 next?
Yeah,
to
the left mid.
Paul,
Yeah.
Paul Copeland. He super dangerous. I think if they go back and review video, he'll be a little bit. Hopefully, he could have a couple others there in the last piece, but he got by his guy a couple times. They kept finding him. Found a little weakness there.
Yeah, he was very good. I thought he was very good. Created a lot of opportunities, made a lot of strong runs. And I also, I'll go back and say, again, it comes down to just working hard, and you can talk about strategy, you can talk about organization, but all you want, but if you're not working hard on both sides of the ball, then all that stuff goes out the window. And I was a bit disappointed with how Lincoln performed especially in that first half.
Well, let's touch on that a little bit, Joe, because before we started, you and I were going back and forth about that. And I was sort of saying, hey, I would just like to see all high school teams be a little bit more organized, especially defensively. And just kind of, what happens when you lose the ball, where do you go and what do you do? I could go off on some tangents. I'll try not to. I guess to me, though, it's just very, very much starts at like you know, your starting position, understanding how to stay in shape, you know, makes it more difficult to break down. So I think for both teams, the reason there were chances weren't because they were so good on the attack side of the ball, but it was just, there was just no organization defensively from either team.
Right.
And you know, no organization is a harsh way to say it, but not a ton of discipline from some players, getting pulled out of shape, and it just leaves holes. So, you know, hopefully these guys are able to pull that stuff up on huddle. I know, like, you know, I've talked to a couple other coaches, and you know, they've said, hey, this is something we're actually working on. And I don't know, you know, I'm sure it's really difficult when you don't have a lot of time between games and stuff. But you know, you mentioned being lethargic. I was going to see if Blake would tell us how many, you know, games they've played recently. You know, how many times has Lincoln played in the last week or two, and the same with Roosevelt. I would guess a lot of games have been played.
Yeah. So, I mean, Lincoln played, that was their third game in 7 days. You know, they played Dowling, which I think went to overtime. They played Marshalltown. Okay. And then they played Marshalltown. And then obviously,
What was the result with Hometown?
they beat Marshalltown 5-2. They smashed them, actually.
How about Roosevelt though?
You know, nobody's gonna like this, but Roosevelt, I only see their last 5 games. They don't have, for some reason, on varsity bound, they don't have their schedule, but they played oh man, this is like where we need to, maybe they do have it here. Maybe they need to cut this part out. Because it's like not
Okay, so I have it up actually.
There
They
you go,
played
Joe.
Tuesday versus Johnston, and then a week before that they played Urbandale. So they actually had a little bit of time off and probably were fresher. And
well, they actually you're off there. Joe.
was that?
Yeah, that's all right though. So I did pull up. They
Oh,
got,
that was max prep. So maybe I'm wrong.
yeah. So they that was actually their third day.
Timestamp, please.
Their third game in 7 days as well. So they lost to Valley 7-1. They beat Ames on the 23rd, and then that was their third game in 7 days, which goes to your point, Ben, right? 1, recovery, your part, Joe, and then 2, when do you have time to train?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, so not to harp too much on that. We can kind of move on. Let's talk about some of the players from both teams. You know, I can start kind of rattling some guys off that I know I just really liked straight away. I think for Roosevelt, the number 7, who I think was that Colin James.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
He looks a lot like his older brother. Once I figured that out, it's easy for me to pick him up. But he moved the ball well, and there were a couple of nice times where he switched the ball, and then Hank O'Leary is the other guy in the middle there, right?
Correct.
The number 13, and he did. I think they are a strong center midfield pairing. I enjoyed watching them play. I think, you know, that was a strong piece for the Roosevelt Rough Riders, was taking a good center of the park. You know, they've got some guys that can run. You mentioned the left midfielder, Copeland, and then Rashidi, obviously up top. You know, he'll get chances. Hopefully he just maybe they take some time to training to like get him in front of the goal. Maybe the whole West Bone can come in and have him be grab the net. Maybe he just needs to become more one with the goal.
I think there's a couple other guys too, Ben. Obviously, their goalkeeper, Ronan Murphy, did well. But I think, Joe, do you remember the left-footed? What number
number
was he?
18.
Number 18. So that would be Xavier Davis.
Yeah.
Super smooth. He played kind of in the midfield as a winger, and then maybe as like a outside back / winger there towards the end.
Yeah, I think he started as like a holding midfielder. He just glided all over the field every time he had touch on the ball. And I think during that game I referenced that he looked like he oh gosh, who's that kid from Man U? Not
Mason Greenwood.
Mason Greenwood. Yeah. To me, he resembled a little bit of Mason Greenwood, just with his left foot and passing ability.
That kid's gonna be feeling good about himself.
Yeah, I mean, you know, every time he had the ball, he was just smooth on it. I mean, connected passes, dribbled, beat players.
And I think then their center back, was that number 20? Whoever the center back was, super athletic. I think when we talk about Lincoln a little bit, this guy should be brought up because if it was 20, Abdullahi, super athletic, but put basically made Freddie Munez, or however you pronounce that, took him out of the game, who's a really good player.
Right.
And that boy was, like I said, he kind of held it down there for Roosevelt at the back and eliminated a lot of chances for Lincoln.
Also, now on the flip side, the Lincoln team, we mentioned the goalkeeper, Jared Kunkel.
Jason.
I'm sorry, Jay, I was close. I also, I just know that Freddie Munoz from the mini pitch tournament, and seeing him here and there, and you can tell he's a good player, but you're right. He, they had him identified ahead of time for sure.
Yeah, I'll say that Roosevelt did a good job shutting him down. The times that he did receive the ball, I think he had an assist, right, in the game. He didn't get the ball enough. A lot of what happened was when Lincoln wouldn't win the ball, the transition off of winning the ball was bad. I mean, they didn't have, and I go back to, we talked about them looking fatigued and whatnot. There was the movement was very reactive, right? So when they won the ball, there was nobody that they could pass to, and a lot of balls would fly out of bounds, or they'd just try to pump it up, and then the center backs or the goalkeeper would, that's how they drew the ball. And there weren't many opportunities created, especially in that first half.
Yes, then we talked to the coaches at halftime, and we talked to Jack Simons first, and he was more positive than the Jack of old.
Jack of old and fired up.
Yeah, so we talked to him, right, Ben, a few months ago, kind of about the lost season and whatnot. So I think he recognizes he's got kind of a younger / newer group of players where, to me, it's a good manager where you can't have the same attitude every year, right? You got to coach according to who your group of players is, and he's clearly, I think, kind of doing that.
Well, you mentioned that this is a group of players that, if they have bad, then you have a bad little section of the game, a bad half, a bad game in general. They're able to kind of shake it off and move on to the next one. So I would guess that, as much as they're probably frustrated with the result, they'll still be in contention at the end of the year in sub-state, trying to get to that state tournament that's included that.
Yeah, no, then we talked to Matt Ream, and they again, both coaches brought up the wind, which it was an issue, but it's been an issue all spring, right? Hasn't it? So it's wild, but
well, and that's typical of our Iowa, right? How often is it not windy in the springtime?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. No excuses, right? You just got to come prepared. You got to play.
So 0-0 first half.
I won it 2-0. I think they scored a penalty in the first half.
Was that the first half still?
Yeah, penalty in the first half.
Well, again, so you want to go there? Scoreboard.
Yeah.
There's no scoreboard and there's no time.
Yeah.
I guess that makes it again difficult where you try to take notes or whatever, and I didn't know the bystanders needed to bring a watch and start it.
Yeah, it is interesting. Even when you're going to some of these really, really small towns, they've got the scoreboard going. Yeah, it's tough, I suppose. I don't know. These are things that are outside of certain people's control. I'd wonder. I'm sure the people whose control it's under aren't listening to the pod, but it is a shame.
It is.
Well, yeah. So they scored that penalty, which you said was a penalty, right?
It was a penalty. And then a few minutes after that, Roosevelt scored on a great free kick, and I don't remember who.
That was Hank O'Leary.
Was it? Okay,
Yeah,
that was a good strike. Hopefully they got that on video, submit that to goals of the week committee.
That is definitely a goal of the week candidate for sure.
A great place to put my video up. I totally did not. But if you were following us on Instagram, we did catch the third goal as we were giving out the second half update. And let's talk about second half a little bit, because it was 2-0 going into half. Joey made the classic comment at halftime that 2-0 is the most dangerous lead. And what did they do? They turned around, they gave up a goal and made it a game. Why did they say it's the most dangerous lead, Joey? Please explain this to me.
Dude, 2-0 is
I've heard it too. I just want to know why.
Like the team kind of takes the team that's up takes their foot off the gas, feeling comfortable. Next thing you know, the other team scores, and then you're on the back foot a bit, and then ties it up, and you're.
I think
for
a
that.
2-1 or a 1-0 or a 3-2 is the most dangerous lead, but that's why soccer is a game of opinions.
Yeah, Joey's point is taken, well taken. You know, it does make sense when you're in a situation and you're up, and so yeah, you might 2-0 in certain situations is a comfortable lead.
Yeah.
But giving up that goal makes it 2-1, and then the momentum shifts a little bit. I was pretty sure we were going to see a 2-2.
Yeah.
And you know, I wasn't see what happens from there. But when Lincoln was, you know, kind of pouring forward, trying to get that second goal, what were they doing? Exposing themselves to the back, and Roosevelt is happy to run into that space.
Again, yeah, Roosevelt had a lot of opportunities on counters, and Jason Kunkel again came up big a lot of times. After the goal by Lincoln, I think 2 minutes after that, Freddie Muniz had another great opportunity to score and really could have brought to 2-2. I think he just hit it just a little bit over the bar, and it could have changed the dynamic of the game.
Well, then Lincoln had that free kick as well that hit the bar, right?
Yeah.
There in the second half that Ben called it that beat him, and unfortunately didn't dip there at the end. But Lincoln definitely, I mean, that last little piece in the final, not even third, the final eighth of the field was missing from them, right? They would play a ball in the air instead of on the ground, and the goalkeeper would collect it.
Right. Because that first goal that they scored was a combination play, right, in the box. The center back, I think, or holding midfielder, he beat 2 players.
Yeah, that was the number 18, I think. It was smooth.
It was good.
Yeah, I want to say he was left footer, at least he used his left foot considerably in the build-up. Looked like he was in trouble. He kind of put himself in a, you know, had 2 guys on him, shielded, kind of did a little turn, and boom, he was out, and then made a great forward pass into the center forward, who then does his thing and lays somebody in, and nice finish, and off we go.
Yeah, it
was
just
a really nice goal.
It
And
was.
that's the kind of thing you see. Lincoln could probably do that you just assume, because you know the kind of players they have. That's the kind of stuff they can do all the time. So why aren't they doing it?
Right. The energy level was much higher in the second half, and it was more of an even game. You know, you can attribute that to the wind as well. I don't know. They're a good team. You know, they just got to show up and play.
Well, and I think that's the thing about high school soccer. You know, one, you're dealing with high schoolers, so you just, you know, they've had a full day at school. You never know what you're going to get. But then on top of that, you know, it's a long season, and as much as there's an emphasis on the results and the rankings, you know, you see, you know, some of these teams aren't getting shouts, and it's like, well, it matters, but it also doesn't matter, right? Because all you got to do is win 3 games at sub-state.
Right.
You know, that's really what it comes down to. So if they can get these experience, you know, these big game experiences under their belt, and hopefully be prepared for it at the right time, anything can happen. So maybe that's the transition.
Speaking of rankings,
I was
guys,
going to say, well, why don't we talk a little bit about the rankings, and then just like tell us what you see there, Steve.
yeah, I mean, so neither team is currently ranked here in the latest rankings. Maybe I'll shout out to the Iowa High School Soccer Coaches Association that does that. Either Roosevelt or Lincoln are ranked. Roosevelt, with that win, moves to 5-3 on the season, and Lincoln drops to 3 wins and 5 losses, which is a little characteristic of them, which is fair to say. But
yeah, I think that the reality is these are both good teams that, with a little bit of a little tweak here or there, and some good performances on the right day, you know, those are teams that can get through and really, and at least cause some other teams trouble.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of new faces for Lincoln. You know, and if Coach Simons can bring those supporting players up to par, you know, when sub-state comes, we may see a different Lincoln team.
that's it. I mean, you talk about it, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 8 games left, regular season games. They're basically at the halfway point. So we talk about a lot of games in a short amount of time, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of games to figure each other out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about just like the whole state. Waukee, I assume, remains undefeated Have they been scored on recently or anything like that that we can report on or?
That's a
No?
good question. I mean, those guys are completely running away with everything, aren't they?
Yeah, it's funny because when you talk about like, I think they beat Roosevelt 3-0 and they beat Lincoln, I think it was, 7-1 or 8-1 or maybe it was East that they beat 7-1. And that was what Ream told me, that it was funny because, they're all having sort of different results against a team and ultimately it's the same result, they're getting smashed, but.
Yeah, I mean, they just beat Urbandale 10-0
Oh my goodness.
and East 8-0 and Mason City 10.
Yeah, so you've got, granted, those are teams that, probably aren't used to playing a team of Waukees caliber, but again, I think it'll be interesting to see if somebody figures out just how to either pull the old, the Ames deal, back in the day when we played, Ames was always this really, really tricky team to beat, and they would find a way to like, sort of hunker down behind the ball, park the bus, and they'd get that one goal and they'd win 1-0. Right, so do you remember that?
Yep, yeah.
That type of squad. There's got to be somebody out there in the state that is going to do that to Waukee. And it'll just be interesting to see if Waukee comes up against that before the state tournament or not. Because if they come up against it for the first time in the state tournament and the team is really good at it, it'll just be interesting to see how they deal with it. But man, they score a lot of goals and they score them fast.
They're strong in every position.
Yeah, for sure.
And they got, I mean, now they're getting into kind of the meat of their season here. They got Valley, which will be, this will drop Friday. So Valley will be people that are listening tonight. Then they go play Dowling and then Fort Dodge and then Johnston. So 3 of their next 4 games are, we'll see.
Who's in the top 5?
So we got Waukee, which has all 10 first place votes. And you got Pleasant Valley, Cedar Rapids Prairie, Sioux City West, who's still undefeated, and then Valley. And I think you still got Iowa City West. I think I saw a thing on Styles the other day, social media.
350.
Was that it was?
I think so.
So if that, so
Tiger right there.
there you go. But I mean, Iowa City West is always, and then if you want to talk about 350, if that was the number, Pennington had 600 at Bettendorf, who's right behind him at number 7, only one loss. So,
well, and that's the thing is, it's once the state tournament time happens, a lot of times these central Iowa teams or these western Iowa teams or these eastern Iowa teams, they're not having the opportunity to play a ton of games against each other. How are the Council Bluffs schools this year? Anybody good out west other than Sioux City? So we got one team out west in Sioux City. I bet you nobody's played.
well, it depends. This is the biggest field or biggest class, right? Otherwise, nobody on the west side of the state is currently ranked in the top 16 or even receiving votes.
How many weeks do we have till Southside Schemer?
Man, look at all these questions. Luckily, we came prepared. May 14th, that week is the last regular season game. So sub-state starts just after that.
Right.
So less than a month.
Right. So and that was where I was going with it, was that we're just wrapping up the month of April here, moving into month of May where all the big games start happening, and then we've got sub-state and we'll,
So they have 3 weeks, right? Basically 3 weeks before the real season starts. And can we finish off the top 10? So we mentioned City West 6, Bettendorf at 7.
Yeah, you got Dowling at 8.
Dowling. So Jackson Teeling, his first year.
Yeah.
we'll see halfway through the season.
Yeah.
Jack up.
Yep. And then you got Cedar Falls, which again, that's good to see, kind of a little newbie school there at 9, and Johnston at 10. And then both Ankeny schools nipping at their heels to crack the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, those are other teams we haven't even talked about either. So I think there's plenty. We're going to go see that. We got the Merlehead Cup on Friday. Checking out Urbandale Johnson, so it'll be fun to see what Johnson's got up their sleeve with the new coach Jimmy Frizzell, and then
Urbandale too. Yeah.
Exactly.
His old team.
His old
Darby Wesley
squad.
coming in there from Centennial.
Yep. So that'll be interesting. And then next week we've got the big Ankeny rivalry, right?
Yeah, the girls at 6, boys at afterwards.
Yep. That'll be fun. So yeah, we're getting the meat of our season as well. Joey, hopefully you'll be back with us again soon. Any shout outs do you want to give before we move on?
No, I don't have any shout outs.
Well, come Saturday morning
That's right.
to our little pre-K clinics.
Yeah.
Joey will be out there.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get the camera out of his hand. Have him start running some games one of these days.
Nikki Thaden runs the U5 clinics, right?
Yeah,
She does a good job.
yeah, we're just there to help serve.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, Southside Schemer, Joe Sithonnorath. It's a
Thank-
pleasure.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Steve's good chat. Little substitution there. We had, the Southside Schemer for the tactician, not quite like for like, but good enough.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's gets a little more, not as sentimental. And it's always good having a different like insight and opinion, right?
You're right. Matt has gotten he's gotten a little soft because he's gotten into that fourth decade.
Yeah, so no, that was a good day, good chat. I got there a little bit early. I had the kids, and then we were watching them warm up, and there's that scoreboard right behind the goal there on field 8 at Cownie. And I knew Joe was coming, but he was a little bit, he made it before kickoff, but I thought he was already there because watching some of the finishing from the Roosevelt boys hitting the scoreboard going into the river, it looked like Joe's old days.
Was that maybe that's why the score wasn't working?
They may have knocked the lights out, actually.
Well, so there'd be our big tip for Coach Matt Ream, to get those boys in front of the goal working on their finishing, because they're going to create chances. And both coaches, let's get some discipline in your back for it.
No, it was good day. Thanks to Joe for coming in. We'll just quickly plug our little clinics at Waterworks Park Saturday morning. We got everywhere from 2-year-old kids all the way to 6 and 7-year-olds. They have fun. They love it. We're out there by the shelter house, kind of by the Isaac Walton League.
We have kind of a good time too, don't we?
It is. It's fun. It's good. The weather's warming up. So, and if you won't be the only one, we have over 20 plus kids. So it's good. New ones keep popping up every week. What else, Ben? Urbandale Merle Hay Cup.
Yep, on Friday, Urbandale Johnson Merle Hay Cup. Next Tuesday, the Ankeny Monday. Centennial against the Hawks, Ankeny.
First girls game of the year we'll cover, so that'll be good, exciting.
Yep. Yeah, just all sorts of stuff going on. I think otherwise, shout out to Lincoln Roosevelt, to Jack Simons and Matt Ream. Thanks for letting us cover your game and being generous with your time at halftime. And Joe, again, thanks for being with us. See you guys sooner rather than later.